In today's video, our goal is to hear this thing breathe life for the first time in, honestly, couldn't tell you how long, probably at least a couple decades, and see if this engine's going to be worth trying to save with all that sludge in there. We've got that 3,000-mile road trip coming up, and we need a healthy power plant for this thing that's going to be up to the task. I felt the need to go ahead and clean up this distributor for when we want to put it back in. This thing was just caked in oil and sludge. You can still see some remnants there of just this crusty black stuff. Look right here, this kind of crap was just stuck all over it. So we got that a little bit cleaned up. And what I'm going to work on next is using the hole in for the distributor right here. We're going to put a socket down in there with a 1/4-inch drive, and we're going to try to prime the fresh oil that's in this engine, get it up to the rocker shafts here so that we can slap a carb on, get the distributor back in, and get this thing fired up. I think I was going the wrong way. So note to self, Ford FE oil pumps, and maybe all Fords, I don't know, spin counterclockwise. So let's try counterclockwise, see what we can do. So if you see, like, this one has no oil, that one there is starting to show a little bit. And back there on the back, now you guys can't see. Let me try to show you while I do the drill right here. Just a couple minutes of priming here, and we've already got oil at about 6 out of 8 of our push rods. Give the engine just another little, 1/4 turn here, just enough to, again, get everything in a little different position. All right, so just after a couple minutes of priming, we've got oil here, 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 pretty much all the way down, except for this one right here. So I never got oil here, and I primed for probably at least 2 minutes. I would like to see oil at every single rocker shaft. I haven't pulled the other valve cover either to check it, but let's put it this way. This is a lot better of shape than just trying to start this thing dry after all these years, especially with all that sludge. We're trying to give it the best chance we can. So I think now I'm going to go ahead and slap the distributor back in. I'll get it oriented back where it's supposed to be in the engine, and then we can move on to getting everything we need for spark and a carburetor on this thing, which I have one over here on the bench. I'll show you guys real quick. We're gonna have to throw a rebuild kit in it, and we'll get it slapped on. We got the distributor back in. I did go ahead and reset the engine at top dead center and reset this because I'm an idiot and forgot that I marked where it was, and then once I had it out, I turned the engine over for priming it, lost the position and everything. So we're back at TDC. We got number 1 pointing to the firewall, which is about where it should be. We'll throw this valve cover back on real quick. I did go ahead and throw those Bosch Platinum plugs back in. I know those are not the right plugs, but with the internal condition of this engine, we're just going to give this a shot, see how it runs, and then we can always swap those out for some copper core plugs later on. A piece of cardboard off and work on getting a carburetor on this thing, and then we'll be that much closer to firing it up and hopefully hearing it run well. I got really nervous with all that sludge in there, but you never know, guys. All the oils and stuff back in the day, they weren't really the same quality. They didn't have all the same cleaning properties. So you never really know Oh, wow. That's a brand new carburetor gasket. And the intake actually looks really clean. So, heck yeah. This is a 1964 date-coded Autolite 4100. It does have the 1.12 Venturis, but as you can see, it is in very used and stored shape, so it's real dirty. It actually has what looks like maybe a remanufactured tag on there, if I can make that out. So this carb was remanufactured at one point in time, but that was probably a long time ago. It's missing some parts and pieces. Our little lever back here is broke, but we have a new one for that. So we're going to get this thing rebuilt and get it ready to throw on the car. Here it is, all freshened up. We got our stud that we were missing. Replaced our little lever back here. Got a full new kit in this thing. All new gaskets, cleaned it up. I did blast it just a little bit after I took it out of the parts cleaner. You can see I had some old media left in the gun. It kind of ate in a little further on the finish there than I wanted, but overall, thing came together pretty nice. Looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's definitely going to work just fine. So let's get it thrown on the engine. And with that brand new gasket already there, we should be able to just drop this thing straight on our intake like that. With the carburetor installed, we have our metal fuel line right here. You guys can see it comes around up from the pump, snakes along behind the distributor, and then it would normally thread right here into this port, but right now we have a rubber hose on, and that comes down off the front of the car so we can put this in a jug. And I fashioned up this little temporary fuel tank here. It's got a little petcock and a filter, just like a little handheld deal, holds about a gallon of fuel or so. And we can hook this line to the inlet of our fuel pump, get a temporary fuel system. We will crank over the engine and try to get all the dirty, nasty stuff out, and then hopefully can hook that metal line straight to the carburetor right there. Anyway, we'll throw this on, get starter power, then we'll work on wiring up our temporary ignition jumping system so that we can throw a battery in and try to fire this thing off. Now I think it's go time. Fuel, check. Oil pressure gauge, check. Jug, check. Ignition wire, check. Remote starter, check. I think that's everything to make sure our fuel pump, or to check, I guess, if our fuel pump's gonna pump. Then we will hook all the fuel line, hook our ignition wire up to our battery, and see if we can make some magic happen here. So let's jump right into it. First things first, let's do the smoke test. Oh, light came on my remote starter there. Doesn't look like we're letting the smoke out anywhere. Let me check inside, see if we got any lights or anything. All right, so now let's see if the starter is completely bad. Whoa, okay. That did not sound good. Let's try again. Okay, she's got a pretty heavy gallop to her. Sounds like we might have either a sticking valve or possibly, some rings that are down. But anyway, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. I did start seeing oil come up through the oil pressure line, and I'm not seeing anything happen with fuel, and that would probably be because I have it turned off. So let me turn that back on. Now let's give it another go here. All right, y'all, we are ready. Confirmed. We got fuel pumping, and it looks like we got some chunks and maybe some ants. Looks like ants in there, so that's good. But I think we will go ahead and hook the line up to the carburetor and put a little fuel in it and see if we can get this thing to crank off. So nothing to it but to do it at this point. All right, a little bit of fuel in the carburetor, and it's time for the first startup in probably 30 to 40 years for our 1964 Mercury Marauder. Let's give it a shot. All right, that was weird. I guess my points were maybe closed, and whenever I hooked up the coil wire, it was like had a lot of current going through it, and I'm just honestly not smart enough to really understand why. I did unhook the wire from the coil off of the main harness, so I don't know. Let's see. My timing is probably a little too advanced there also. She was kind of bucking a little bit, so we backed that off a little. And let me check this one more time. All right, let's give it another go. Why'd I pull this off? I don't know. All right, well, it started, okay? It started. That's what matters. Showing a little oil pressure on the pressure gauge. I guess I kind of want to get everything where I can see it. Let's go again, guys. Well, look at that. 50 pounds of oil pressure. Terrible exhaust leak. It's running like a champ. Not bad. Holy crap, not bad at all. Burning off all that oil and stuff we put in the cylinders, and we sprayed them down. Smoothing out. Oh, kind of gets rough and smooth. Okay. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I was a little worried. We do have a fuel drip right here on the fuel line that goes into the carb. Y'all, that metal line, I basically just decided I was going to kind of cut it up, and it's an old line, and I suspect that it is just not making a good seal. The flares are probably bad, but anyway, we had a leak there, and now we have a leak here using that line. So let's check down here. No leaks out of the fuel pump, though, so looks like we might have got that one fixed. Of course, like I said, burning off everything off the exhaust, but overall, not bad at all. I don't have the water pump hooked up right now. It is locked up tight, you guys, so we are going to have to figure out that one. I don't even really want to open up the cooling system on this thing, but I know I'm going to have to. I'm not trying to say that. I'm kind of dreading what I'm going to find, but anyway, it runs. So now we can at least move on. It didn't run bad, so let's get cooling system. Let's get it where we can get a good heat cycle in this thing. I want to run this oil, run it for a while, get it good and hot, and run through a couple heat cycles, and then we'll change the filter, and try to see if we can bring this thing back around. But heck yeah, win, and I am super stoked. This engine might be completely fine, so let's see. Hey guys, I did go ahead and fire it back up just to let it warm up a little more. And we're getting a little smokage out the back now as she's starting to warm up. Then we got that exhaust leak on the front right here. Oh yeah. Okay, now that we know she runs, let's dive in and get the water pump off and figure out how nasty the cooling system is in this thing. If it looks anything like the oil side of the engine, so the crankcase side, we're in for it, but cross our fingers, let's hope it looks better than that. Okay guys, let's start down here with the radiator, which I did get out, and I took it over to my garden hose and I was just doing a little flush. Didn't find any active leaks on any of the tubes, which is really awesome. Actually was able to save both of these and get the cooler lines off. But if you look right here, you guys see that little bit of rust, but what you also can see is a finger. Yep, we got us a giant hole, or I guess the brass radiator just couldn't stand all the test of time with the corrosion and everything. So that sucks. That basically trashes this, what would have otherwise been a leak-free radiator. Then we come down here, we got our expansion tank off of the cooling system, and of course the gasket ripped. The thermostat's still there, but guys, look at this like blue corrosion on here. And what I suspect happened was the coolant, the old coolant in there probably turned acidic after a while and just started eating away at the metal, because that's a brass thermostat. And for the worst part of all, look here. We've got just bad news going on inside. Yeah, not great. So at this point, I think our best bet is to try to get the car rolled outside, to be honest, and try to see if I have enough garden hose to run over here to the shop. I don't have water in my shop. It'd be really great if I did, but we'll try to get the garden hose as close as we can, get the car as close as we can to the door of the shop, if not slightly outside of it. Of course, we have that flat tire and we're on wheel dollies right now, so none of this is going to be what you might call easy, but we need to try to flush this engine out. I don't necessarily think it's too far gone at this point. It's just we can't put a fresh water pump on and everything with what's going on here. So we still got to get the old water pump off. Let's not give up on that. So let's knock that out real quick, and then we'll show you guys the whole package deal once it's ready. All right, y'all, water pump is off. The ports on it didn't look near as bad as the one in the intake. There you can see that one's got some green coolant down in there, just a little bit of rust and corrosion. And there, that one's about the same. Of course, our intake side is what's looking the worst, but I don't think that's all that bad. Guys, the cooling system, I mean, obviously there's some old crud and everything, which we expected in here, but not too bad overall. I think a good flush of this, possibly with using some kind of like off-the-shelf flush, would have this doing good. Of course, we'll have to drain and refill a couple times. That's no big deal. But at this point, I think I'm deciding to go ahead and yank this engine out. And I know you guys, like, I'm not doing it because I'm freaking out about, you know, the situation that we have. I'm doing it because I think it's just going to be easier to get everything clean. I want to put it on a little run stand and run it and do the flushing and everything. I think all that would be easier to do out of the car. Plus, we've got a lot of work to do on the car. If we have to replace any brake lines or anything, all that stuff's going to be much, much easier to do with the engine out of the car. And I'm going to give you guys a little sneak preview. So if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. You get a prize, and that is that you get to see what we have in store for this thing. And a big part of the reason why I'm just going to go ahead and yank the motor out of it. So check it out. All right, y'all. So if you know anything about these old cars, ignore the Cleveland heads there in the background. But if you know anything about these old Fords, you know that that right there is a set of pedals for a manual car. You would know that that is all the bracketry and everything you need in order to run a Z-bar. You would know that hiding just under the bell housing there is the Z-bar. Of course, that's an old style starter. But we also have this bell housing and block plate. And yeah, so secret's out. We are 4-speed swapping the Marauder. Just a few more things on the top side, and then we'll have the engine ready to pull. It's got to pull my throttle spring off and get the bracket loose from the intake manifold. It says just fold that up out of the way, so we'll do that. There's a couple lines and whatnot on the other side. We'll get those removed, and this engine from the top should be ready to go. While we're here, we'll go ahead and get the upper 2 bell housing bolts removed. All right, let's play good news, bad news. Good news is it looks like there isn't a bunch of oil trying to come out of the back flywheel area, or sorry, flex plate area on this one. Bad news is our torque converter nuts look like they've been chewed on by an angry squirrel. So not really sure what the deal is with that. Maybe something that had failed before and was replaced or repaired. Possible explanation for the starter being changed or something. So anyway, let's move on. All right, guys, let's get the car dropped down a little bit closer to the ground, and then we can get the 390 up out of the top. Doesn't look like we tore anything up too terribly bad in there. Well, I see something. What did we break? We broke something. I don't know if you guys see that. Those look like ring gear teeth. Yikes. Here's the engine out of the car. It said came out pretty easy. No, those in fact were not ring gear teeth, but by golly, something had been chewing on this. Y'all, look at this flex plate. Something had just been chewing on it, eating it for lunch. Of course, no pilot bearing. This is not a manual car, but it will be. Here's a closer look at those chunks of metal that were in the bottom of the bell housing. They look like some kind of teeth off of something. See that? See like teeth like that? Maybe an old starter? Maybe it was the old starter and it went bad, and that's why they put the new style starter like that one on. don't know. But anyway, here's my thought process, guys. Now that we have the engine out and on this pallet, I built some supports there. You can see we're supported oil pan, engine mount area, and then I have a 2x4 screwed down back here. Hopefully this is enough to hold this thing down. We can start it and run it. So guys, this way we can work on cleaning out the cooling system. We can get that oil circulated in there, get the engine good and hot, but in parallel, we have space and ability to work on the actual car itself while we wait on any parts that we may need for this engine to get it basically freshened up to the point where we'll take it on our trip. My goal is not to dig into this thing, like replace any hard parts necessarily, but you know, we may see what happens as we dig into it. But anyway, just built myself a little run pallet here. I'm gonna mount the radiator up to it. We're over here in the yard so we can hook up the garden hose, fill it up, circulate and clean the cooling system and everything as we need. Of course, we'll just be using pure water, so if we have to drain it out on the ground, it won't be any big deal because it's just pure water. So anyway, let's get everything bolted onto this, and then we'll see if we can fire up the engine on our little makeshift run stand and hopefully not tear stuff up. Okay, we got her out on the stand. And somebody on the passenger side is not happy, as you guys can see. I believe cylinder number 1 is oiling down, likely not firing at all. Okay, well, as you guys can see, we got us a cylinder that is just straight blowing oil. I don't know if y'all can tell, inside this pipe right here is coated with oil. That one is dry. This one continues to smoke. That one is dry. This engine has a down hole, and I'm pretty sure by deduction that it is that one right there, number 1. Why do I say that? Well, there is oil all over the exhaust port there. Of course, it is on the side that we're concerned with. I even got oil coming down out of the little poorly sealed collector gasket there. Real quick, just show you guys while I'm pulling these valve cover bolts out that there's literally a puddle of oil running out of the exhaust manifold. So we'll put these right there so they can get super hot. Oh, smoky. Smoky indeed. See there? Smoking. Ooh. No? That's supposed to be like that. I was looking at this push rod, but... Oh. Yeah. Look at that, guys. Okay, well. Notice that all these are tight and honestly too hot to touch. This one right here, dang it, I wish I could get to it. That one, ow. We got a down lobe on a cam, it looks like. May have had a stuck valve and been a push rod. I don't know. Let's dig in a little closer, but this is not looking good. Nope. So we've probably got a bent push rod. All right, guys, so this could be a couple things. Number 1, Could have wiped out a lobe. I don't know, because I don't see a bunch of metal in the oil, but then again, like, who knows? So down lobe, collapsed lifter, or a bent push rod because we had a valve stuck. So let's see if we can figure it out. All right, first thing, it does not appear that our valve is stuck, because if it was, it would not bounce back when I tap on the spring right there, like that. So next thing we'll do is, I guess, just go ahead and yank this rocker shaft off. It's only 4 bolts, and we will pull that push rod out and see if it is bent. And I stupidly put this rig out in my yard, and it's actually getting dark, so we better hurry if we have any hope of getting this done tonight. Spoiler alert, I got it out. Look at there. I would go as far as to say that that guy right there, there's no wonder he's not opening any valves. All right, you done? Great. Okay. I stuck the push rod in the vise and straightened it out. Okay? Sue me. Actually, don't. But let's go take it and throw it back in the engine. All right, y'all. Let's play good news, bad news. Good news is the one that was bent, I got it back in. Everything seemed to be okay. Bad news is, as you can tell right here, cylinder number 2, we have a missing push rod, and that is because I have it right here in my hand. It was also bent just as bad as the other one. Yes, I stuck it in the vise to straighten it out. No, this is not a permanent solution, so quit typing your comment about, oh, those push rods will never work again. Okay, who cares? The main issue is that we were going to stab it right back here in the engine, but right down in there, if y'all can see that, that lifter specifically, down in that hole, has come apart. All the others, that one's fine. That one is fine. Anyway, the point is, you guys can see that piece in there has come apart. So that lifter is done. There's no saving it. And that basically puts a stop on this engine being anything that I'm going to continue to mess with for the Poverty Tour car. So guys, I'm a little bummed out about the situation we're in. I was really hoping that this engine would just need, you know, to be kind of run and everything. And, you know, I think those push rods were bent before I got the car. I think we saw evidence that somebody was in here before. Somebody was tinkering around. We saw, you know, the wire on the coil and everything. And I think somebody was in here messing around, and they tried to crank the engine over and bent push rod because they had a couple stuck valves. I think that happened before I got to it, and, you know, we primed the oil, we did everything. When we turned it over, we knew we had a little bit of a gallop to it, and long story short, it doesn't really matter. I did it, somebody else did it, who cares? I'll take the blame if that's what it was. But we're down right now. So, you know, it's a continuing battle, but I'm not letting this stop me. So you guys, if you're really interested and want to show any level of support, like this video, drop a comment, tell me how stupid I am for straightening push rods with a bench vise. Subscribe to the channel if you want, but I need y'all's support because I need some more motivation to keep this thing going, because right now we're down a 390 and we got to figure out another solution quick, because 39 days from right now, I think, roughly 39, 40, 38, whatever, not a lot of days left. So anyway, not sure where I am in this video, but I think I've probably got enough. I'm going to go ahead and end this off here. Thank you guys again for your support. Stick around for the journey. Subscribe. We got a lot more crap to do on this thing before she's done. So if you're enjoying it, thank you for staying. If not, you should stay anyway and keep watching. But y'all have a good one. I'll quit rambling, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Engine on the stand here. I've been cleaning up around the oil pan area. Of course, everything was caked in. This is just a little bit of it. I've already emptied the cardboard like twice, but get this oil pan off of here and see what it looks like. Okay, here we go. I've got it part of the way off. You guys are getting actually the first look in there before I do. Okay. Not bad. I expected a lot worse in here. I expected a lot more sludge and crap stuck to everything, but overall, doesn't look terrible. So we'll grab this oil pan off of here and then we'll take a little closer look. All right, so with the oil pan out of the way, we can now get a closer look. Right here on the oil pump, of course, there is a lot of like that sludgy, flaky buildup. You guys can see it just kind of all over the bolts and everything there. Our timing chain right there, it is pretty caked as well, and I used my finger to kind of move it around earlier and it was pretty crusty. The crankshaft and everything, I mean, definitely has, you know, just evidence of hot oil, old oil on it, but not terrible as far as the crankshaft goes. And we can see into a couple of cylinder bores. I know you guys are having a hard time here, but anyway, everything looks like what it looks like. So moving down here to the oil pump screen, this is where things get a little bit more interesting. Right, kind of stuck in there is what looks like some chunks. I can't tell if it's metal or not yet, but you can definitely see we have a oil pump screen that was working on clogging up. There's some metal debris and whatnot in there, and then of course down here are those unknown material chunks. So overall, glad we pulled the oil pan off just to kind of check things out. Again, we are working on a plan B, so we will be cleaning out this oil pan and putting it on our plan B engine.